Earlier this week, I was scrolling through social media when I saw this post, this public declaration of love beneath a photo of a guy's smiling girlfriend. At first I thought, "Aw, how sweet." But the moment I read the caption, my ChatGPT detection sense, which is something like Spider-Man's Spidey sense, but for sensing AI-generated text, well, they started tingling. I just knew it had been written by everyone's favorite AI best friend, ChatGPT. You see, it had all the classic signs, the clean, structured sentences, the almost mathematically precise balance of emotional depth without being too deep, and that perfectly polite, inoffensive, safe for everyone phrasing that made it sound like it was generated by a corporate email bot. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone for using ChatGPT. In fact, my last few episodes have been all about how to use ChatGPT to communicate better. I love ChatGPT. It's helped me so much in my own work. But if you're posting ChatGPT generated content wholesale, that is exactly how ChatGPT generated the content in the hopes that it makes you sound like a great writer, then I have some news for you and you may not like it. See, proficient users of English can usually tell who, or more accurately, what wrote it, and that can make you come across as lazy and or inauthentic. So, what is it about AI generated content that feels very, well, AI generated? Stay tuned as we take a look at what makes ChatGPT sound like ChatGPT and how using it can backfire on us and maybe even enable the future AI takeover of our minds. Just kidding about the last part. Or am I? I also share with you some tips on how to keep your writing from sounding like a generic corporate press release. Stay tuned for that. Hi everyone, we're the Shirfa sisters from Malaysia. Azima, Amna, and me, Aisya, hosts of the My English Matters podcast. After spending 8 years in the UK as children, we know the importance of mastering a second language, so we created MyEnglishMatters.com as a platform to help second language learners learn to speak, write, and communicate in English with confidence through our online courses, classes, and workshops. To join our free course called Speaking with Confidence and get the latest updates about our programs, subscribe to our email list at MyEnglishMatters.com. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the My English Matters podcast. I'm Aisya, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about how ChatGPT can erase your unique voice and make you sound as basic and boring as the next person who's also using ChatGPT. You see, ChatGPT has become so popular that a lot of online content now sound the same, like it was written by the same soulless robot. AI was supposed to help us be more creative. Instead, it's making everyone sound identical. And when everything and everyone sound the same, it all starts to feel very bland and boring, very beige. The absence of genuine, heartfelt content can be very depressing. So, what is it about ChatGPT's writing style that makes it sound so generic? ChatGPT has a very clear writing style. If you've read enough AI-generated text, you'll know when something was written by ChatGPT. You can tell, and you don't even need to use any AI-generated content detecting software like Turnitin to know. You see, ChatGPT has a very distinct style that many users have described as stiff and robotic. Firstly, it overuses certain words and phrases. For instance, you'll see a lot of glimpse into, dive into, stark contrast, and unveiling. Everything sounds like the beginning of a TED Talk, which is fine if you're writing something informative or educational. But if you're trying to write something more personal, like a heartfelt message, it can end up feeling a bit off. Even when you ask ChatGPT to write in a more personal tone, it still tends to follow predictable patterns. You'll get something emotionally safe, like, "Your kindness is not just appreciated, it's deeply cherished." Or, You mean the world to me, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life. These sound perfectly nice, but they also feel like they come from a Hallmark greeting card rather than a real person with real feelings and thoughts. A truly personal message is often messier, more specific, and a little unpredictable. It might include inside jokes, weird phrasing, or emotions that don't fit into a perfect sentence structure. These are the things that make human writing feel authentic or real, and that's exactly what AI struggles to replicate. ChatGPT also relies on certain stylistic structures that make everything sound like they're following the same formula. You'll often see patterns like, it's not just X, it's also Y, or the result, more people are dot dot dot. It also overuses transition phrases like, that being said, at the end of the day, ultimately, and in other words, and it also often starts sentences with whether you're X, Y, or Z as a way to sound inclusive. It also overuses the M dash, which is the longer version of the dash and is often used in place of commas or parentheses. Yep, ChatGPT sure loves overusing the M dash. And let's not forget how flowery it can be when you ask it to write more descriptively. ChatGPT loves its adjectives. It doesn't just describe something, it elevates it, unveils it, embarks on a compelling journey through it. Suddenly, a simple idea turns into an overly dramatic monologue, which can feel over the top and insincere when not used sparingly or in the right context. Instead of saying it was a big change, AI might say it marked a stark transformation in the landscape of dot dot dot. Like, bruh, just say it was a big change. Now, don't misunderstand. Using these structures and formulas can help your writing feel more polished, but when these particular structures are all that are used in a piece of writing with almost no deviation from the standard ChatGPT style, it can make you sound overly formal and strip away your personality. This predictability is exactly why proficient readers can sense when something is written by ChatGPT. So, James Podolsky, a software engineer and author who also worked on AI writing tools, wrote on his blog about how certain words and phrases have exploded in usage since AI writing tools became popular. He found that the word multifaceted, for example, saw a huge increase in usage around the year 2021, which is just when ChatGPT models started taking off. It went from appearing in 0.05% of PDFs to 0.23%, which is a pretty big jump. On the other hand, the phrase a complex and multifaceted phenomenon has 74,900 occurrences across the web today, but before 2010, there were only 73 recorded uses. That's a 1,000 times increase in just a few years. So, according to Podolsky, we know that early versions of ChatGPT were trained significantly on Reddit, which is a social media platform and online forum where users can engage in discussions. Later versions of GPT likely pulled heavily from other sources like Quora, which is a question and answer platform where users can ask questions on a wide range of topics and receive answers from other users, including experts. The problem with this is that focusing training on specific websites like Reddit and Quora creates strong biases in how AI writes. Today, AI generated content is being published all over the internet and then fed back into AI models. So basically, ChatGPT is training on its own recycled output. This creates a feedback loop. AI basically learns from itself, reinforcing the same patterns, making the writing even more robotic and repetitive over time. So, why does this matter? Look, I'm not saying AI is evil. I mean, I'm literally using it to help me structure this podcast episode right now. But the problem is, When people stop filtering AI generated content through their own personality, their own quirks, their own humanness, what's left? I'll tell you what's left. A pretty piece of nothing. Think about the best books, songs, or speeches you've ever heard. They weren't perfect. They had weird and unique sentence structures, strange turns of phrases, maybe even grammar mistakes, but that's what made them interesting. Take William Shakespeare, for example, who's only known for being one of English literature's greatest writers of all time. Shakespeare didn't just write great plays and poems, he literally shaped the English language, coining and popularizing as many as 1,700 words and phrases that are still regularly used in everyday conversation today. Examples include the words fashionable, sanctimonious, eyeball, and lackluster, and the expressions in a pickle, wild goose chase, and one fell swoop. Now, can ChatGPT do that? Can it invent new words that stay in our vocabulary for centuries? The answer, at this point in time, no. Because ChatGPT does not create, it just recycles and reorganizes what's already been written. That's why AI generated content feels predictable and, well, uninspired. So, if you're relying too much on ChatGPT for your writing, you might be holding yourself back from developing your own real, authentic voice, the one thing that AI can never replicate. So, how do we make sure our writing stays authentic? Here are some things to try. Number 1, be messy, be you. Unless you're writing corporate emails, academic reports, legal documents, or other content that requires formal English, your writing shouldn't be too polished. Why? Because overly polished writing can strip away personality and make your words feel distant, formal, or bland and generic. Think about how you speak in real life. You don't pause for ages to create the perfect sentence before saying something. You use filler words. You go off on tangents. You exaggerate, joke, or even contradict yourself in the same breath. That's what makes human communication feel alive. So let yourself be messy. Break a few grammar rules. Use slang. Throw in an oddly structured sentence. Write the way you'd actually say things. Do you know what I mean? So ChatGPT can produce polished, textbook perfect writing, but no offense, who wants to read a textbook for pleasure? It will never have your unique voice, shaped by your experiences, your humor, and your quirks. You know, the things that make writing actually worth reading. Number 2, use personal quirks. If you always say words like bruh or lol or other slang words and phrases in real life, why censor yourself in writing? Your speech patterns, slang, and go-to phrases are part of what makes your voice yours. AI-generated text, on the other hand, sticks to a neutral, mass-appealing style that lacks personality. ChatGPT would never by default write something like, "Your writing is giving programmed NPC energy, bruh," but you totally can. In fact, you should, because that's what makes your writing feel alive, relatable, and unmistakably you. So go crazy, drop an OMG, throw in a mate, or end a serious point with lol. It's your voice, so own it. Number 3, break the rules on purpose. So AI follows structure. It wants sentences to be complete, logical, and grammatically sound. It often follows the rule of 3, which is a classic rhetorical device that lists things in threes for supposed maximum impact. Except when it's done too much, like in ChatGPT generated content, its impact is diminished. It becomes predictable and thus boring. But you don't have to use these rules. In fact, some of the best writing happens when you intentionally break the rules. For example, you can cut sentences short. Or You can make them long and rambly and full of random tangents because that's just your vibe. And honestly, it keeps people engaged because they don't know what you're going to say next. I like to mix it up to keep it dynamic and for dramatic effect. Maybe you start a sentence with and or but. Maybe you ditch punctuation altogether when you're really excited or passionate about something. The point is, be unpredictable. Structure is helpful, but breaking it intentionally can add rhythm, personality, and a human touch to your writing. AI could never. So, here are my closing thoughts. AI is just a tool. It's a lot like the predictive text feature on our phones. Helpful, but you wouldn't let predictive text write your entire novel, would you? So, don't let ChatGPT erase your voice. Use it if you want, but don't let it completely replace you. We don't need more generic, perfectly structured content generated from the cold, simulated hearts of AI robots. The world needs your weird, unique, chaotic, beautifully human, God-given voice. So use it. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of the My English Matters podcast. Please make sure to click the subscribe button if you haven't yet and leave a review of this podcast if you like it. If you'd like to learn even more with us, we have a free training called Speaking with Confidence where we send 7 tips to your email. You'll also get weekly emails with tips and lessons to help you improve your English. Join us at myenglishmatters.com.